Thank you, Sybil, for being here with us. This is one of the many talks and lectures that we're going to have with people that are actively somehow working with the new distributed technologies and CGI plugins. And we are looking at the intersection between art and this sort of image and spatial engineering, and how these transform current art practices. And this series of lectures is done as a joint collaboration between Fondazione Prada and DTH with Freddy and Niels, and is as a sort of preparatory platform for a set of exhibition that will happen over the course of the next year, titled Sturm&Drang, as a general understanding of the processes, environments, and sort of structural economical behavior of CGI practices. So today we are Sybil, Freddy, and Niels to discuss how a sort of artist like you had sort of needs to reconfigure from the traditional upbringing of artists working in galleries to a more distributed and diverse environment. So working with different settings, working in different environments, but also sort of distributing your work in a new way. From visual to fashion to actual artist work. And so together with Freddy and Niels, we wonder if you can give us a brief introduction of who you are, what have you been doing, and also how do you feel yourself in relation to what is an artist?
I began CGI like 2 years ago. I've learned by myself, mostly because I was firstly a video editor in a big video company in Paris. I really love editing because it's like a very important game of rhythm and sharpness. So it's cool, but I was pretty not satisfied because I had a lot of imagery and storytelling in my head, and I wanted to be able to develop them without any boundaries or team or production behind, like not going into film. So I began to learn 3D because I discovered that it is like the ultimate medium in a way when you want to be free, because you can just learn it, have sufficient computing power, and do everything you have in your head. So mostly it's this. So yeah, I'm doing CGI as mostly as a way to manifest some visions. Yeah, let's say.
So I don't know if Freddy and Niels want to say something, but so I wonder, so because we spoke with many other people, and they sort of also said that the possibility of or the sort of features that using CGI software gives to the user is a sort of unparalleled perception of freedom. And so I truly wonder that, so is this enough to sort of, so do you find the sort of alone working hours something that is truly empowering, or would you sort of prefer a sort of industrial organization, a sort of like the organization of a small team of people that can help you with basically other things in order to, so is CGI a way truly to be alone and free for everything, or do you think that with the growing of your work commitment, you will need to sort of go back into a more big or structured sort of company organization?
I think it really depends on the project I will be working on. When it's a very big commission with a lot of animation and technological challenge, I will definitely need some assistants and some, interns and everything, and a team, let's say, because firstly, when it becomes too technical, I'm very bored. So I prefer to leave it to someone and, you know, to have some kind of artistic direction on the technicality, but not spend hours in making one hair, or, you know, because it doesn't really excites me in terms of process. So yeah, if when I have like very big commissions, definitely I need to go back to some kind of team feeling. But let's say that naturally I feel more at ease when I'm alone working on something, because firstly I can become very bossy, and I know some people don't like it, you know, but when I'm in the trajectory of creating something, I can forget a bit like human convenance and everything. So yeah, I think it's better for me to be alone like this. And also when I'm into the creative flow, I'm very I don't know, I'm not really staying very communicative, or, you know, I'm super focused, and so I prefer to be alone in this focus. Yeah, definitely. So it just depends on the situation.
And out of this like personal way of working, we were also you're like wondering what is the fields of production in CGI. I mean, we are interested in CGI because it is an ambiguous sphere. It is, on one hand, it's completely like economically thought, it's like a company what one does, but simultaneously it's also, yeah, a field that is beyond like the common notion of culture. And yeah, we are curious how you react to these contrasting poles of like institutionally validated high art from the museum and these growing economics of the image production. Would you say that in between these two angles, there is something like a new creative class, like that would be including you, that includes authors more anonymous than like other subcultures, for example?
Let's say that again, it really depends on uh, the person and on the author. You know, I would not say that it's a new class of creatives or anything, because yes, it's a new medium, but it's not so new. Like it's like already like 30 years now that it's getting, you know, fundamental in the creative field and the industry fields, games and everything. So yeah, it really depends on the position of the author. If they accept some kind of anonymity, like some CGI technicians that don't even think that's what they are doing, and that their practice is creative. You know, for them it's hyper technical. It's on the performance. And on the other side, you have some creatives like me, or people that are way more experts, or, you know, renowned than me, that use CGI as a way to realize vision and to manifest them. And so when it comes to creative, I think that there is a very important trend now, even more like when it comes to digital artists, even more now with NFTs, that it's everywhere, and everyone is selling even their sketches as NFTs, and people like Beeple are doing millions selling like just one image, you know. And yeah, it's a total creative arena, and it's accelerating so much. So yeah.
So, but I wonder, I always believed that, you know, by the increasing number of people using technology, in a way, technology, by the number of plugins, by the number of, you know, people involved, dismantle authorship. So there's no clear understanding of the source. And I believe that it happened to you also, you know, while trying, you download things, you work with things that have been sort of managed by other people, or you find, you know, in a way, some sort of structure that you can, you know, download and implement in your direct authorial work. But apart from that, I'm very curious to know. So if you feel that there is a sort of disparity between, CGI artists, if we can say so, and artists in general. So because I believe that so an artist has, a sort of known ways of showcasing his work. There are museum, galleries, happenings, performances, presentation, collector houses, and everything. But in CGI, I wonder if there is a gap that needs to be filled. So what are the ways by which you can distribute your work? Is it only through a sort of final representation like videos, or recording your work, your process? Does your work only get distributed through, visuals, photographic renders, or do you think that there is a lack of ways of distributing your work, or not? Because I'm always wondering, if I would be a CGI artist, I think that my favorite way of showcasing my work would be to, upload some very obscure, plugin structures I'm working with, and use that as a sort of display technology of my work. But I wonder what is your case. So I wonder if you feel that you love to be in a gallery. Do you feel that you need more sort of structural representation, or does the channels by which you can distribute your work somehow fulfill your sort of artist subjectivity?
I think that it's a very like mutable question, because in my case, let's say that the representation is sometimes ongoing, because like I use a lot social medias, and I share a lot of work in progress, and even these work in progress are a way to integrate viewers into my artistic processes, because it's super spontaneous. It's like it's not finished. It's but it's romanticized, always romanticized. It's not just like thrown thrown online without any feeling attached to it. So there is this let's say work in progress representation that is like very important. I also think that this question of authorship and okay, you download models and environments and things, but in the end, you are the one to choose which model. You are the one to place the camera. You are the one to make some special effects. So it's just that the tools have changed. The tools are hyper expanded, hyper easy to catch, even if you don't have technique, you can do some cool renders, but in the end, it's just a question of your own vision. Like if your vision is good, even if you have zero technique and you just downloaded all your assets and everything is a bit impersonal, if the vision at the end is personal, it's the most important, And about galleries and representations as the final things, I think that it's cool to have some prints in galleries, some videos in galleries, and everything. I had a previous project that was called Corpan. We had a lot of show in Europe and everything, and we were doing installations and CGI. So we had some screens and big prints and very clean things. Now it's finished, and now that I'm working more as a solo and I want to go back to make physical environments, let's say that for now I'm more preparing to find some inventive displays than just making a print with CGI or having a screen. It can be interesting when you have some work that is very story-based, but it's not my case. I'm more searching for like some intense atmospheres and emotional impact. So let's say that for now, once when I will have new shows, I will like push to have very inventive displays and to yeah, to push the boundaries of CGI and how it can affect you.
Luigi will love to hear this.
Yeah. So the screen is never enough.
And Sybil, before we talk today, you also mentioned the expression of CGI canon, which really made me think, because of course Luigi's claim before was that perhaps with CGI the idea of authorship gets more attacked or diluted, but then you really came up with the idea of the CGI canon. And also when we asked you about the gallery space, the museum space, you thought it's really a problem that usually kind of the art world hijacks the most pleasing artists dealing with CGI. So I think if we could learn from you, I mean, to overcome on the one hand the canon, but also overcome the kind of dull, materialized idea of how to exhibit CGI, simply take a print or a screen into a white cube space. I think this would be super interesting to learn from you, kind of getting models of displaying this work without this idea of a normal transfer into high art framing.
Yeah, exactly. So about the CGI canon, let's say that firstly, it's a very subjective, personal way of seeing it, because it's very almost rigid, you know, like canon is like a very classical way of compartmenting things. So I'm not sure it's very shared by my peers, you know. But I think, in my point of view, this idea of CGI canon is great, because I think it's great to attain excellence, and I think it's great to hybridize hyper-creativity with hyper-technicality. And for me, that's what is CGI canon. It's because you take force from all the spectrum, you know, like hyper-technical and hyper-creative. So I think this is very interesting. Then, as curators and in exhibition perspective and everything, you will find a lot of CGI artists that will want to integrate their artworks as a very framed and classical way. You know, there is a lot that are very happy to make a big screen, big print, you know, and like see it in print, and it looks like a painting, and la la la. So it depends, but I think that it's a bit sad, because like there is so many technique and ongoing new technique, and it's always accelerating and everything, that you can propose experiences. Like, it's more than artworks. An artwork is always an experience, but let's say that when it's totally physical and you are surrounded, it's more an experience than when you see a painting, you know. Maybe just my point of view, but I think it moves you maybe more. I don't know. So yeah. Then what I say about the displays, it's very personal also, because it's what I would like to do with my work, you know, like to do some holographic sculptures or some circuits that are 100% experiential, you know, with even like some machinery that pushes the emotion, you know. I don't know, you do some kind of video render that is some kind of jump into a huge unknown, or I don't know, and you put this into a room where there is some kind of machinery. You go on it, and you really have some drop, you know, things that are at the same time hyper physical and pushing the aspect of CGI that can create an alternate reality, you know, like where.
Can I have a question in between? Maybe it's, I don't know, maybe it's a difficult one, but I wonder, because you mentioned several times the concept of immersion. And of course, if you go to a museum, you realize as soon as you enter the modernist gallery, kind of immersive space is gone. And maybe it comes back then if you continue to the contemporary part of the 90s. But I wonder, like, what could be a reason for this current push or like need of immersion, like of immersive techniques, or like why are we craving for this?
Let's say that I love extreme feelings and extreme situations. I love to experience danger and like epiphany moments, like when it's so extreme that that you are focused, like you are nowhere else and on this extreme moment. And I also love this idea of the labyrinth. You know that you are into some kind of parkour and you encounter a lot of events that you can't control and that you need to react instinctively, and so for me this is very important. And for now you don't really see it in the work I've produced because I've made mostly commissions since I began, because like I began not so long ago, and very fast I had only clients, so I didn't have really the time to develop this. But for me this is most fascinating, like to be able to experience things that could kill you in reality, but as it's CGI and it's simulation, you're like, yeah, let's go some big danger, and it's just it's not real, but it's as extreme. Well, some kind of this very shape-shifting, situations.
And this is, of course, the avatar that can experience this situation. I mean, that's something we were wondering about, like this figure of the avatar, because as an artist, you can, of course, produce these things in the physical space, bring the immersion that one would have from the CGI to there. But then what is the artist if it's within the realm of CGI? The human being, persons become avatars. But the avatar has also been tested like among artists, that to understand, like, that you are like, as an artist, you are a human person, but you create an artistic identity as if you would create an avatar, like maybe even a painter or someone, a sculptor would do something like this. So we wondered, you as a CGI artist, how do you relate to this idea of the avatar?
So firstly, I would say that I'm not really partisan of this idea that you are not the same, like you are yourself and there is your art. For me, it's exactly the same. And even like, I will make some kind of confidence, but if I don't feel satisfied by some artwork I'm doing, or I will be extremely depressed, like so dark, and it will completely invade all my presence. So I think that for me, there is not really a difference between your normal, your daily life and when you are creating first. And about the avatar, as I said previously, I think this notion of ideal self or hiding yourself behind another identity, it doesn't really interest me at all. I guess there is a lot of artists who will talk to you about this, because I don't know, they feel that they can become better when they are not made of flesh, or I don't know. For me, it's not really interesting. I think the most interesting is the kind of boost of your physicality again, but with the boundless possibilities of CGI. So some kind of disembodiment, but that allows you to live things that you could not live as a made of as a physical entity. So then it's funny to invent some characters and like to make them perfect, I would say, but even perfect as uncanny things, you know. So I think what would interest me more is like to create characters, like to create human figures that could correspond to some kind of like perfection I see, or like some kind of perfect design, you know. But myself, I'm not really into dissolving in something else. I think it's better like to come from you and like expand.
I have another question, but which is very basic, sort of. So no, you say that. So, for instance, we need to have extremes, no? So I can only think of, in a very stupid way, of gaming behavior. No, you always know when you need to jump out of something in order to save your character, and also wonder why what you just said about creating perfection. And yeah, the question is stupid, so please apologies for asking it. No, but so when you switch to sculpting mode in any software,
Yeah.
Is it does it feel like you are sort of elaborating or sort of stepping in like a field, like an expansion of contemporary sculpture? So if you say that we need to have sort of gaming instinctive response and behavior extremes in a gallery, do you think like on the reverse engineering that when you are on your software environment window, do you feel like sculpting? So do you feel that the commands that empower you to shape or design the sort of critical perfection of your work is a sort of abstract or technological expansion of what you feel like sculpture is? But of course you say the editing, and I know that you work in motion, but can we sort of create a parallel between a traditional artistic discipline like sculpture that is very rough or very engineered and your work?
Definitely, like when you are into as you said, sculpting mode, it's well said, you know. It's definitely just a dematerialized way of sculpting. It's exactly the same because you come from nothing, you know, some just matter like that is non-defined, and you sculpt it even more. The gesture, in the software is almost the same as the real gesture, because you see that you can scrape the material, you see that you can model it, and you see the clay, and it's called clay in the sculpting software, so it's even more linked, you know. You see it real time, you know. So for me, it's definitely sculpting. The only thing is that you are not dirty.
I want to know, because you worked in video,
Oui.
and I want to know if yes, we can create a parallel with sculptures, but what if when we also have time? So it's like animating something, creating things in motion. I wonder if in this way sculpture can be sort of upgraded to a new narrative technology or not. So I'm not searching for a straight answer. I just want to a bit of sort of background on what you perceive with your previous work, working on with sculpting plugins.
I would say that when there is a motion that integrates the process or the artwork, the sculpting part is already far. You know, it's not here anymore. It's more a question of yes, time, so rhythm, and let's say that you can like sculpt the emotion of your viewer with your motion, with the rhythm of your animation, with the content of your animation. But like yes, the sculpting part is already gone when you go into the motion, and even more, you are happy that the sculpting part is gone, because it means that your sculpt is good and that you can move on, you know, because when a sculpt is not well made, you cannot animate. So it's like, you know, yes, when you are on the animation mode, you are totally on another parallel of the work, like yeah, and well, I guess.
Okay. No, but because I'm really approaching the field as a sort of like a new ignorant, and because I think this is the best way to understand and learn.
Yeah.
And so I was truly impressed. You know, I use CGI software, but I always wonder if there is somebody which is better in sort of understanding what you can do while things move, what you can do using time. As a sort of procedural process that can upgrade or modify your sort of preset mass. But okay, thank you.
Yeah, but you know, about this, you can do anything, you know. So it just depends on your idea. Like if you just want to, like I don't know, take some skirt that you like or and make a perfect perfect scenery around, and just have very smooth and clean lighting, and you know, you can just do some kind of animated painting in a way. And there is all on the other side, you have this idea of, you can make, I don't know, you can make a tornado and in a way simulate it, not sculpt it. And this is another way of animating it, but it's there is nothing nothing that make it close to this idea of just animated painting, you know. So it just depends on your idea.
Okay.
Like, there is no other yeah, no other way, you know. It just depends on what you want to do first. And sometimes you don't know what you want to do, you just have some very vague emotion, and you drift with your plugins and your software, because you feel that you are getting there, you know. And when it's this kind of mood, it's like very improvisational, spontaneous. So yeah, it depends on your mood and on your need, creative need.
Wow, thank you.
My last question would be about like like all the people behind the CGI. It's like one theme of our studio also. I wonder, like, for example, do you know the programmers like that make the tools that then you are using? But because it's like really different people that you engage with. Like, for example, we came across your work through Gino Amobi, because we made an exhibition with him as a musician, as an artist. So it's like these people that you're connected with, but then you describe yourself as like this lonely person working alone, not being socially able to be with others. And then, I mean, also in art or in architecture, you always have kind of a strong community that you can rely on. And I wonder if, like, you know, many other artists like you, is there like this community in CGI too?
So firstly, about the people that are creating the software that I use, let's say that I'm hyper grateful, and sometimes when I have issues, I write to the like support team, you know, and I'm always like, yeah, you are the best company in the world, to thank you for all this. Always, because like, you know, I don't know them, but thanks to these guys, I can create, you know. So yeah, for me, it's very important to acknowledge, even if I can't know them personally, you know, but to acknowledge the fact that thanks to them, I can produce, you know. About the community, no, first, about the fact that I am not socially able to work with people, it's not really deep. But it's more that for me, it can be an effort. Like I need to make effort when I'm with people, because but no, sorry. I need to make effort when I'm with people, but when I'm alone, I don't need to, the only effort I need to do is to work on my will, like my will to finish. So yeah, it's not really not able to be with people, but yeah, some effort. And about the community in CGI is very strong, but obviously it's online based, and for example, there is a very, very, very strong community around learning and sharing your knowledge with tutorials, mostly free. You can learn CGI on YouTube. As I've done, I've learned almost everything by following tutorials and master classes on YouTube. And there is so much people producing this content for free and taking time on their own time, even some big names that's just for the sake of sharing and of having newbies that learn and become, a part of the community. That this is very, very, very cool and generous from these people. So this is super strong. And also, there is also more the creative part that is pretty strong too, where people are very happy to share their work, like for example on ArtStation or on Instagram, even if it's less, if it's not CGI oriented. But yeah, there is a very strong community, and people are trying to gather online, with online events and online creative challenge and It's not really my thing because I may be an hermit in the end, but yes, there is a lot of gatherings. Yeah.
No, as a matter of fact, what one of the many exhibitions that we're doing only focuses on tutorials. And we discovered that when you contact these people, it is since there is not really any academic structure, but it is a format of learning.
Yeah.
So when you contact these people, it is always a bit, sort of shaky to tell them that institution can look at their work, which is only meant it's like academic through via distribution. That can also be structured in a way that sort of not really dignifies, because artwork that doesn't dignify anything, but as a sort of way of systematizing it. And I found this, to me, is one of the most painful and beautiful condition of CGI work, that it is totally emergent. So in a way, it's totally amateur and totally honest, without no sort of class disparity.
Yeah.
But also it is fully integrated in, most of the ways by which we somehow use images, videos, and content as a viable currency. And so I think that you belonging. So I think that one of the most interesting facts is that today people working with that, they sort of strongly acknowledge their belonging to a set of sort of dispossessed authors that are throughout the world, and they can congregate almost immediately, and have an impact on the way we think about not simply images, but what is collaborative work at the end. So thank you for actually making that point. To me, is one of the things that is mostly dear to me.
Okay. Yeah, cool.
Yeah. Thanks so much.
What?
No, thanks so much.
Sure.
It's really, like so many things for me. Like I learned for the first, like the idea of the CGI canon, also your kind of explanation with the looking for this disembodied state of the extreme. I also really admire, and that whole idea of kind of communication around CGI.
Yeah, cool.